Imagine finding a Washington quarter in your pocket worth not 25 cents, but thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes, some quarters are so ultra-rare their value is unbelievable. Today, we're counting down the top 5 rarest Washington quarters ever made, and number 1 might blow your mind. Stay until the end. Yes, that is real, and the most exciting part is that these special coins are still out there, maybe sitting in people's drawers, coin jars, or old wallets right now. That is why collectors get so excited about 1967 Washington quarters, because every time you check your change, you could be holding a treasure without even realizing it. Stay with me as we explore why this coin is so special, why certain ones sell for huge money, and what to look for so you don't accidentally spend a small fortune at the grocery store. The story begins in the mid-1960s when the United States Mint was dealing with a huge coin shortage. People were hoarding older coins because the mint stopped making silver quarters after 1964. Since silver was valuable, many people kept those coins instead of using them, and that caused a shortage of coins in stores, banks, and vending machines. To fix the problem, the mint tried new things. From 1965 to 1967 they removed mint marks, so no coins would show a D or an S, and they also stopped making regular proof sets and replaced them with something called special mint sets, also known as SMS sets. These SMS coins look nicer than regular circulation coins but are not as fancy as true proof coins. Because all this was happening so fast, the mint had a lot of mistakes, and those mistakes made certain 1967 quarters rare and super valuable today. Even though more than 1.5 billion 1967 quarters were made, only a tiny number have the special traits collectors look for. Those are the coins worth big money. One of the most valuable kinds of 1967 quarters comes from the SMS sets. Most SMS coins look normal, but a few were struck with extra polished dies that made the coin shine like a mirror while keeping the portrait frosty and white. This is called a cameo or deep cameo finish, and it looks amazing. Because only a very small number were made this way, collectors pay thousands of dollars for them. Some deep cameo 1967 quarters in perfect condition have sold for more than $10,000. Even cameo versions without the deep finish can still bring in $2,000 to $5,000 if the condition is top-notch. Another extremely rare type is the 1967 quarter that was struck on a silver planchet. The mint officially stopped using silver cores in 1964, but leftover silver blanks sometimes slipped into the presses by accident in 1965, 1966, and 1967. When that happened, the coin looked just like a normal quarter but weighed more because silver is heavier. These silver 1967 quarters can sell for $20,000, $30,000, and sometimes over $40,000 if the condition is excellent. These mistakes are so rare that collectors go crazy whenever one appears at an auction. Another category of valuable 1967 quarters involves double die errors. A double die happens when the die used to strike the coin gets impressed twice in slightly different positions. When that happens, the letters or numbers on the coin look doubled. On some 1967 quarters you can see doubling on the word Liberty, on In God We Trust, on the date, or even on the eagle's feathers on the back. These coins might be worth a few $100s in worn condition, but in high grade they can jump into the thousands, sometimes over $5,000 for very strong doubling. Next are off-center strikes, which happen when the blank coin is not lined up correctly in the machine. Some 1967 off-center quarters only show the design halfway or even less, leaving a huge blank curve on one side of the coin. Off-center errors from this year in high grade can sell for $500, $1,000, $2,000, or even $3,000 if the misalignment is dramatic enough. Some of these coins look so unusual that they almost seem like artwork. There are also broad strikes, clipped planchets, and multi-strike errors that can be worth $100 to several $1,000s. A broad strike happens when the collar that holds the coin in place does not work and the coin spreads out wider than it should. A clipped planchet occurs when a coin blank is punched from the metal sheet incorrectly and the coin is missing a piece. A multi-strike error happens when a coin gets struck more than once in different positions. These dramatic errors are always fun to look at and can bring in impressive prices, with some multi-strike examples and extreme clips selling for $2,000 to $7,000. The more unusual the coin looks, the more money collectors are willing to pay. Even more exciting is that, in some situations, a 1967 quarter can reach values over $100,000. This usually happens when a rare type of error, such as a silver planchet or a major double strike, is found in almost perfect condition. When a coin like that appears at an auction, collectors compete fiercely, and the price can shoot up to unbelievable levels. That's why people treasure hunt through rolls of coins and old jars. It only takes one incredible find to completely change someone's life. Now, how can you check if your 1967 quarter is special? First, weigh it. A normal 1967 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. If your coin weighs around 6.25 grams, it might be a rare silver error worth a huge amount of money. Next, look closely at the condition. A shiny coin with almost no scratches could be worth far more than you think. Then, check the letters and numbers for doubling. A small magnifier can make this much easier. Also, look for fancy mirror-like fields and frosted portraits that might show cameo or deep cameo qualities. Finally, look for errors like off-center strikes, clipped edges, widespread edges, or anything unusual. Yes, a tiny coin that people spend without thinking could secretly be a treasure worth more than a car, a college tuition, or even a house. That is why collectors get so excited about the 1969 quarter, because there are rare errors, rare finishes, and rare high-grade survivors that are extremely valuable today. Once you understand what makes these coins so special, you will never look at your spare change the same way again, and you'll want to watch until the end because you might be holding a jackpot without knowing it. The year 1969 was an interesting time for the U.S. Mint. Only a few years earlier, the country had removed silver from quarters, and people were still hoarding older silver coins. The mint was rushing to keep up with demand, and when a mint is rushed, mistakes happen. Mistakes in coin making are bad for the mint but wonderful for collectors, because those mistakes turn normal coins into extremely rare and valuable pieces. The 1969 quarter was made from copper and nickel, not silver, but the mint strained under pressure, which led to rare errors. The mint also saw the demand for crisp, high-quality coins, so they created proof sets for collectors. These special coins were struck differently, with polished dies that gave deep, mirror-like surfaces. The interesting part is that not all proof coins came out perfect, and some rare types came out so nicely or with unusual traits that they became worth incredible amounts in today's collector market. One of the most valuable 1969 Washington quarters is the ultra-high-grade business strike coin. A business strike is the regular type of coin made for everyday use, not a proof coin. Since these regular quarters get thrown in pockets, dropped on the ground, rubbed against other coins, and beat up in circulation, finding one from 1969 that remains in perfect condition is extremely rare. Most 1,969 quarters have scratches, dings, or dull surfaces. But if one survives in almost perfect condition, especially in the highest grades like MS-67 or MS-68, collectors will pay huge amounts of money for it. Some of these top-grade business strike quarters have sold for thousands, even more than $10,000 because only a tiny number exist in such perfect shape. Imagine finding a 25-cent coin that looks brand new after more than 50 years and selling it for enough to take a luxury vacation. But the real monsters, the coins that make collectors lose their minds, are the 1969 error quarters. Error coins are mistakes made during production, and the more dramatic or unusual the error, the higher the value. One of the most valuable types of errors is a coin struck on the wrong metal planchet. While 1969 quarters were supposed to be made from copper-nickel-clad metal, sometimes leftover silver planchets or foreign coin planchets slipped into the machines. When that happens, the coin looks slightly different and often weighs a different amount. These rare wrong metal errors can sell for tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes even pushing towards the $100,000 zone if the coin is in perfect condition or if the error is extremely rare. Weighing your 1969 quarter is a simple way to check if you might have one of these treasures. A normal quarter weighs 5.67 grams. If yours weighs something unusual, heavier, lighter, or even slightly off, it might be a rare planchet error that could change your life. Another major category of high-value 1969 quarters is double die errors. A double die happens when the design on the coin press is stamped twice in slightly different positions. When that happens, the letters or numbers on the coin look doubled, almost like you're seeing them shift or blur. These double dies can sometimes be seen on the date, the word Liberty, or the words "In God We Trust." Double die coins are extremely collectible, and some 1969 double die quarters have sold for thousands of dollars depending on how strong the doubling appears and the condition of the coin. Imagine turning a coin under the light and suddenly noticing the numbers look doubled. What you're really seeing might be money doubling in your pocket. The stronger the doubling, the higher the price. A strong, clean double die in high grade might reach $5,000 or even more. There are also dramatic 1969 errors like off-center strikes, broad strikes, clips, and multi-strike errors. Off-center strikes happen when the coin blank is not placed properly in the machine, and part of the design ends up missing. A 1969 quarter with a big off-center error can be worth hundreds, sometimes over $1,000. A more extreme one, like a 70% off-center strike, can be worth several thousand. Then there are broad strikes, where the coin spreads out wider than normal, giving it a strange stretched look. Clipped planchets have missing pieces, like someone cut a small bite out of the coin. These can also sell for hundreds or thousands depending on the size of the clip. Multi-strike errors happen when a coin gets hit more than once and ends up with doubled or stretched designs. Dramatic errors like these always catch attention and can bring in strong prices at auctions. Proof coins from 1969 can also be worth a lot, especially if they have deep cameo or full cameo contrasts. A cameo coin has frosted white designs and a shiny mirror-like background. A deep cameo has even stronger contrast and looks absolutely beautiful in the light. These coins were made for collectors, but only a few proof coins from each year end up with this perfect cameo look. High-grade 1969 proof quarters with deep cameo contrast can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. If the coin happens to be one of the few that reaches the highest grading levels like PR 69 DCAM or even PR 70 DCAM, prices can jump sharply because collectors chase perfection. Yes, a simple quarter from 1992, a coin most people never pay attention to, can secretly hide enormous value, and the only reason most people don't know is because they've never looked closely enough. The year 1992 was a strange and busy time at the United States Mint, with millions of quarters being rushed out to meet growing demand, and whenever the mint is rushing, unusual things happen: mistakes, rare planchets, strange metal mix-ups, double designs, and quality problems that create incredibly valuable coins today. The 1992 D quarter is especially interesting because it sits right between two eras, the older traditional design of the Washington quarter, and the new state quarter era that would begin only a few years later. This period was chaotic inside the mint, and chaos often leads to rare coins that collectors will pay huge money for today. That means a quarter you hold in your hand right now could be worth way more than 25 cents, and in some shocking cases, life-changing amounts. One of the biggest reasons the 1992 D quarter can be extremely valuable is because of high-grade condition. Most quarters from this year went into circulation immediately, where they were scratched, handled, dinged, dropped, and worn down. Finding a 1992 D quarter that looks almost perfect: sharp details, bright surfaces, no scratches, is incredibly rare. That is why collectors go absolutely crazy when they find one in grades like MS67, MS68, or higher. Some of these nearly perfect examples have sold for thousands of dollars, and the rarest top-grade coins can reach values over $10,000 or even more. Bright surfaces, no scratches is incredibly rare. That is why collectors go absolutely crazy when they find one in grades like MS67, MS68, or higher. Some of these nearly perfect examples have sold for thousands of dollars, and the rarest top-grade coins can reach values over $10,000 or even more. Because so few of these exist in perfect shape, collectors fight over them at auctions, pushing prices higher and higher. Many people don't realize it, but a perfect-looking 1992 D quarter could easily pay for a vacation, a down payment on a car, or a stack of bills. But the real excitement begins when we talk about rare errors, because 1992 D has some of the most dramatic and valuable error quarters of the entire decade. One of the rarest and most valuable types is the wrong planchet error, which happens when the mint accidentally strikes a quarter design on the wrong type of metal blank. This could be a leftover foreign coin planchet or even a blank meant for a dime, nickel, or cent. These wrong metal 1992 D quarters weigh differently and sometimes sound different when tapped. A rare wrong planchet error can be worth thousands, and an extreme one can easily reach tens of thousands of dollars. If the coin is in perfect or nearly perfect condition on top of the error, the value skyrockets even higher, potentially approaching the $100,000 zone if the coin is truly unique. That's why weighing your coins can literally reveal a hidden treasure. Another valuable type of 1992 D quarter is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank is not centered properly during minting, leaving part of the design missing. A small off-center may be worth $50 or $100, but a huge off-center like 50%, 60%, or even 80% can bring in thousands of dollars. Collectors especially love errors that are large and dramatic but still show the date, because they prove the coin is genuine and make it more interesting. A massive off-center 1992 D quarter with the date visible can easily reach thousands, sometimes even approaching the five-figure range depending on condition. Then we have double die errors, where parts of the lettering or numbers appear doubled. Some 1992 D quarters show doubling on the words Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date itself. Double dies are extremely collectible, and the stronger the doubling, the higher the value. A powerful double die in high grade can be worth hundreds or thousands, and an extremely strong one could push even higher if it becomes recognized as a major variety. These dramatic doubling errors are some of the most exciting discoveries because they can hide in plain sight until someone looks with a magnifying glass. The 1992 D quarter also has dramatic mint mistakes like broad strikes, where the coin spreads out wider than normal, clipped planchets, where a chunk of metal is missing, and multi-strike errors, where the coin is struck multiple times, leaving wild overlapping designs. These unusual mistakes always interest collectors because each one is different. No two coins look exactly alike. Values for these extreme errors can range from a few $100s all the way to several thousand depending on how dramatic the mistake is and how clean the coin looks. A multi-strike 1992 D quarter that's clear, sharp, and visually shocking could easily push into the multi-thousand-dollar range. There's also a special group of highly valuable coins from 1992 involving transitional varieties coins showing features meant for later years. Even though this happened more famously with some pennies, certain transitional style errors for quarters do exist, and collectors will pay huge amounts for mistakes that show experimental or unexpected designs. If a 1992 D quarter ever appeared with a mismatched die or unusual design combination, it could instantly jump into tens of thousands of dollars or more because collectors love one-of-a-kind coins, and prices explode when two collectors battle over something unique. The most thrilling part of all this is that many people have 1992 D quarters sitting at home without realizing what they're worth. They might be in a coin jar, an old drawer, a wallet, or a box of saved change. Some of the most valuable finds in coin collecting history came from ordinary people checking everyday coins. A rare 1992 D quarter could be worth $500, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, or even more depending on the error or condition. And if someone discovers a unique error, especially one involving a wrong planchet or an extreme strike mistake, the value could explode into the kind of money that changes a person's life. Yes, a simple quarter from 1983 could secretly be holding huge value, and many people have no idea. That is because the year 1983 is one of the most interesting years in modern coin history, filled with shortages, rushed production, missing mint sets, and extremely rare errors that collectors go crazy for today. So stay with me until the end, because this tiny coin has a story that might shock you, and you might even discover that you have one of these rare treasures hiding in your home right now. In 1983, the United States Mint was facing unusual problems. For the first time in years, the Mint did not release any official mint sets or uncirculated coin sets for collectors. That meant no neatly packaged 1983 coins were saved in brand new, shiny condition. Instead, almost every 1983 quarter went straight into circulation where it was used, scratched, dropped, handled, and worn. This created a serious problem for collectors later on. Finding a truly high-grade 1983 quarter is nearly impossible. Most were used and damaged in everyday life. But if one survived in almost perfect condition, with no scratches, no marks, and sharp details, collectors now compete fiercely to get it. Because of the missing mint sets, high-grade 1983 quarters are far rarer than people realize, and that rarity pushes values through the roof. Some examples graded in the highest levels, like MS-67 or MS-68, have shocked collectors by selling for over $10,000. One nearly perfect example even hit around $20,000 at auction because the number of top-grade survivors is so tiny that collectors fight over them. That is why people check their change, because a simple quarter could become a big payday. But high grade is only part of the story. The real excitement begins with the rare and dramatic error coins from 1983, because this year is filled with unusual mistakes that create incredibly valuable coins. One of the most famous and expensive errors is the double denomination error, where a 1983 quarter was accidentally struck on top of a previously struck coin of a different denomination, like a dime or even a cent. These wild-looking coins, with two designs smashed together, have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. Some double-denomination errors from the 1980s have reached extreme values, and a dramatic 1983 example in top condition could easily enter the tens of thousands or even approach the $100,000 zone if collectors see it as a once-in-a-lifetime piece. Another major error that made 1983 famous is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin is not lined up correctly in the machine, and part of the design ends up missing. A small off-center strike might be worth $50 or $100, but a big one, like 40%, 60%, or even 80% off, can bring in thousands. A huge off-center 1983 quarter with strong details and no major damage can reach several $1,000s at auction. But the rarest dream coins are the ones with massive off-centers that still show the date clearly. Those can explode in value because collectors love errors where the design is dramatic but the date is still visible. There are also wrong planchet errors from 1983. This happens when the mint accidentally uses the wrong metal blank. Even though quarters in 1983 were made of copper-nickel clad, sometimes a leftover blank from a foreign coin or even a previously used coin slipped into the press. These wrong metal 1983 quarters can weigh differently or look a little odd. Such mistakes can fetch thousands, and extremely rare ones can push far beyond 10,000. If a rare wrong metal 1983 quarter comes in perfect condition, and that is unbelievably rare, the price could climb into extreme levels. Even a simple scale can help someone discover this kind of treasure at home. Another rare and valuable type from 1983 is the double die variety, where the design appears doubled on the letters or numbers. Some collectors have found doubling on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the eagle on the back. A strong double die error can bring hundreds or even thousands, depending on how dramatic it is and how well preserved the coin looks. A perfect high-grade double die example could easily enter the multi-thousand range or more, especially because high-quality 1983 coins are already extremely rare. Mint mistakes like broad strikes, where the coin spreads wider than normal, and clipped planchets, where a chunk of the coin is missing, also appear in 1983 coins. The bigger and more dramatic the error, the more valuable it becomes. Some extreme broad strikes and multi-strike errors have sold for thousands, especially if the coin looks bizarre or eye-catching. Collectors love strange-looking coins, and 1983 produced some of the most dramatic ones of the decade.